Trick or treat! Hi, this is Mary from the Daily Sew. After making some videos on Halloween costumes, I thought, why not do a really simple Halloween treat bag? And if you make it in a solid color, it could also be a yarn bag, a lunch bag, or an all year round treat bag. So if you're ready, let's go. For this project, you're going to need about a half yard of fabric, a ruler, something strong for the handles, like a trim, wide grain ribbon, or webbing, plus thread, pins, and scissors. My original bag is 14 inches wide, but since I'm using a scrap of fabric, this bag is going to be whatever I can fit out of it. I think anywhere between 11 inches and 14 inches is a good width for a treat bag, but remember you need to add 1 inch for seam allowance. So you're going to cut your fabric 1 inch wider and 1.5 inches taller than you want the finished bag to be. I realized I didn't even measure for a height. I just used what I had because of my fabric scrap, but my original bag is 13 inches finished tall. So originally I had cut that fabric to be 15 inches wide and 15 inches tall, just in case you want to know. So you're going to line up your grain lines if you can see them before you cut. My fabric is linen and it likes to move a lot just on its own. Sometimes a fingernail can make a really nice crease, and that gives you a guide for where to cut. So keep that in mind too. When you're done, you're going to fold in half and thumb press to make a nice crease, and this crease is going to show you where to cut so that you get 2 equal rectangles. Now, before you sew the 2 bag pieces together, go ahead and add any decoration you want. You could sew or glue fabric shapes down to make something, or you could use fabric paint, or you could sew on trim. Whatever you want to do, do it now. You just want to leave the bottom of the bag 2.5 inches, the bottom 2.5 inches clear, because this becomes the bottom of your bag. Then you're going to take the 2 pieces and lay them on top of each other, right sides together, and you're going to stitch from the top, a 1/2 inch in from the sides, down to the bottom, across and up to the top, and back tack there. So again, you're going to start at the top, take a couple stitches back, come down, pivot, pivot, come up here to the top, back tack. Remember, it's a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So you've got it sewn up and any decoration is already on. I put a row of trim on mine. That's what those 2 rows of stitches are that you see. Now we're going to add some structure to the corners, but first let's press open the seam allowances. Get your hand inside the bag and take a corner. This is the side of my bag and this is the bottom of my bag, and I'm lining up the bottom seam to the side seam. You can feel the seams with your fingers and you're trying to get them on top of each other. Once they're lined up, take your ruler and from the tip right there, the very tip, I'm going to measure down 2 inches and mark it. And yes, I'm using a ballpoint pen because this is the inside of my tote bag and you are not going to see it. You're going to sew across the corner on that line you just marked. Do the same for the other corner. It can be a little tricky lining up the seams. Just take your time and try to get an even amount on both sides of that vertical side seam or bottom seam, whatever side is facing you. Okay, the corners are sewn across. You can see how that gives shape and structure to the bottom. So now we got a more square bottom and a flat top. Next is finishing the top and adding the handles. My original handles were about 17 inches. Again, add 1 inch for seam allowance, so that's 18 inches for each handle, and of course you do need 2 handles. So go ahead and cut those and put them aside, and let's finish off the top. To finish off the top edge, we're going to fold the bag in 1 inch and then we're going to fold it again. And there are a few ways to make sure that you are folding in 1 inch. One, you could measure 1 inch all the way around with the ruler. It takes a while because you measure a little and then you press, measure, press, measure, press. Or take it to the sewing machine and with a basting stitch, stitch all the way around the top using the 1 inch seam guide to measure and mark your fold line. You can leave the basting stitch in or you can take it out later when you're done. Or take a piece of cardstock, measure and mark 1 inch from an edge, and of course it will work better if the bag is inside out. Then you can fold over the top edge over the cardstock to the 1 inch line and then press, and you can press on top of the cardstock. Get the edge of your template snug in there before you press. When it's folded all the way around 1 inch, then you're going to fold up the raw edge. And if you have overcast your edges like I had to do, you could skip this second fold. My fabric frays if you just look at it, so I had to do something there. But then fold the top edge under again so that it meets the crease. Press and do this all the way around. You're encasing that top raw edge in on itself. Okay, that is the longest step of this project, and now it's done. Let's figure out where to put the handles. So we need to evenly space the handles out from the center or out from the side, and we can do it like this. First, if you want to find the center of the side of the bag, you're going to line up the side seams, and folding it in half, you mark the half point where the fold is, and that's the center of that side of the bag, and then you repeat for the other side. And now you can measure out from the center so many inches for the placement of your handles. My bag is narrow, and it was easier for me to visualize it if I measured in from the side seam, so that's what I did. I've chosen to put the handles 3 inches in from the side seam, and you don't have to measure the other side of the bag. Once you've got the pins in place, you can just line up the pins. Now I know where my handles are going to be attached. My handles have a right side and a wrong side to them, so I have to be careful about making sure to orient them correctly. If you have grosgrain ribbon like this, both sides are the same, and you can relax a bit here. This is the wrong side of the bag, so it also needs to be the wrong side of my ribbon or trim. Try to center the strap on your placement mark. Use pins as a guide if that helps. So that raw edge of your handle, the very narrow end, is going to line up to the top edge of your bag, and you do have to unfold that hem a little bit to line them up. And once you do that, then you fold the top edge back with the handle caught up in that fold. It's a little thick here, and putting in a pin can be, take a little more patience. Also, you want to move your pins to the right side of the bag because that's the side you'll be sewing on next. Okay, so that's pinned in place. Be sure when you bring the handle over to the next anchor point that it isn't twisted, no matter if you have a wrong side or right side. Then pin the second handle to the other side. Now all the handles are pinned in place. Go to the sewing machine and sew all the way around the top. Sew once close to the top fold and then a second time around to catch the folded over hem on the back side. So you're going to sew close to the top and then you're going to come down. And remember, we folded it a ½ inch twice. So come down maybe 3/8 to a ½ inch down from that top edge close to this inside fold. Top edge is sewn down and the handles are attached. I added an extra row because I had to get closer to my bottom fold. I didn't come down enough from the top on my row of stitching. But having 2 rows at least of stitching really strengthens that handle connection. So go ahead and give your stitches a good pressing, and now you're done with your treat bag. You can see it can be used for just about anything, and there's lots and lots of room for candy. Yum. Well, I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions about the treat bag, please put them in the comments below and I'll be sure to reply. Remember to like and subscribe, and if you would like to support this channel, we have a brand new Ko-Fi link in our description below. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.